Hi everyone, welcome back to the Australian Rotary Health podcast called The Research Behind Lift the Lid. I'm Jessica Cooper, and today on episode 47, I'll be having a chat to Dr. Lauren McLellan from Macquarie University. Lauren was awarded a mental health research grant from 2015 to 2017 for her project called Improving Access to Mental Health Services for Children with Anxiety. This project specifically tested the effectiveness of the Cool Kids online program. Lauren is also a practicing clinical psychologist with a focus on evidence-based assessment and treatment. She teaches on the Clinical Masters postgraduate program at Macquarie Uni and primarily runs clinical trials on improving access to and outcomes of mental health interventions for youth. So thank you very much for joining me, Lauren, on the podcast today. How have you been?
Yeah, really well, thank you. It's a bit of a strange world right now for us in New South Wales, but I'm sure we'll press on and meet the challenges ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our Rotarians and supporters have heard a lot about the Cool Kids program as it's one of our research success stories. But the trial that you did looked at whether the program would be effective for kids with anxiety when delivered online. Do you want to tell us a bit about the Cool Kids online program and how it's different to the traditional face-to-face delivery?
Yeah, so Cool Kids Online is an 8-lesson program that allows carers, who are usually parents, and children to work together as a team in their own home. So carers, who are usually the parents, coach the child through to help them learn and to practice the same cognitive behavioural skills that we teach in our face-to-face program. But rather than the weekly face-to-face sessions with a therapist, the detective thinking skills and the stepladder skills are actually demonstrated online with videos and animations and some illustrations. And we use case examples and activities so that the families can see how to use the skills. And we include some tip sheets for coaches, and there's lots of extra resources to help carers learn the best ways of responding to a child with anxiety so that they can manage things better. And in this Australian Rotary Health funded project, we also provided 10 to 15 minute weekly calls with a clinician to parents to help them work with their child through the program. So basically, it's essentially the same Cool Kids program that's well-renowned, but we just deliver it straight in to the family's home using the internet.
Yeah, and I'm sure that would be a very good program at the moment, especially during COVID. Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's always important with these types of interventions to test their effectiveness to see if they really work. How did you go about doing that in your research trial?
Yeah, it sure is. So even though the online delivery uses the kind of Cool Kids face-to-face program that's world-renowned, it is still really important that we know whether the changes in how we deliver it impacts or even just how well it might work. So because it was the first time that we were providing families access to the Cool Kids online program, we gave half the families access to the program immediately, and the other half got access after a 10-week wait. And so doing that allows us to say whether the Cool Kids online program is effective and how much it helps compared to just the passage of time. So we were also, I guess, really critically interested in whether the effects or any improvements we found would actually be sustained over time. So we also followed up families 6 months after they'd finished the program too.
Yeah. And did you find that the Cool Kids online program led to any significant improvements in child anxiety or any other specific outcomes?
Yeah, we absolutely did. Yeah, we found that families who completed the online program experienced actually about the same improvements as what we would usually see in our face-to-face program. And so what that means is about 63% of children no longer met criteria for their main anxiety problem, and about 54% of children actually had no anxiety disorders at all after completing the program, because a lot of the time children will have more than one anxiety disorder. So what we're able to show was that, the vast majority of people and children experienced really substantial changes in their anxiety. And that was significantly more remission of their disorders than the families who didn't access the program immediately. And we also, of course, saw changes on parent report in things like anxiety symptoms, improvements in functioning. So it was across the board, what clinicians would say is disorder levels, and also symptom changes and improvements in functioning. And all of those changes were actually maintained after 6 months after completing the program, which was really excellent to see that sustained improvement. And I guess the other thing that was really nice to see was that families were really positive about the program. They were really, we got some lovely feedback about how easy it was to use, how engaging they found it. And actually, a lot of the children and the carers said that the case examples and the activities were really, really helpful in helping their child see that they weren't the only one who experiences anxiety and how they might use the skills. So that was really nice feedback as well.
Yeah, well, those sound like some very positive findings. So it's always great to hear that, coming from the research that we fund. Has there been any other further research into the Cool Kids online program or perhaps just the Cool Kids program in general since then?
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff happening with Cool Kids broadly, and specifically with Cool Kids Online. I've actually been lucky enough to receive a second Australian Rotary Health Project grant to take the next steps in evaluating the program. And so from that first study, we were able to show that the online program with the weekly therapist support was really effective, which is great because those calls are kind of far less involved than providing the 10 weekly sessions face-to-face. So that means that, more children and families can access treatment. But my aim and what I really want to do is make sure that every child with anxiety in Australia can get access to treatment that works. And so what I really wanted to know was, is that amount of therapist support actually required for children to improve as much as they did in this first study? So if it's not required, then we could actually treat many, many more children because we're not limited by accessing, that resource of therapists and, delaying treatment because of wait lists and so on. And so the current research project that I'm running is testing the impact of different types of therapist support that's offered alongside the Cool Kids Online program to see how we can best strike that balance between great outcomes, but also the cost and the resourcing limits of that regular therapist support. So actually it's pretty exciting that what that means is that families around Australia can still access the Cool Kids Online program as part of the current Australian Rotary Health funded project.
Yeah, well, that's really great to hear. And it's good to have that flexibility with all different types of options with the therapist support and not having that as well. So yeah, that's great. And if anyone from our audience listening to this episode is concerned about their child who may be experiencing anxiety, what would you recommend to them?
Well, yeah, look, I think first, I always recommend that it's a great idea to talk to a GP or even a school counsellor, someone, in a health or education profession that's in the local area that can connect you with local services. But ultimately, if you're concerned and you're seeing the impacts of anxiety, maybe, getting in the way of your child learning, developing friendships, maybe just generally causing the family stress, then I would really encourage people to get support because the skills-based treatments that we call cognitive behaviour therapy, they are so effective. So just really encourage people to seek help.
Yeah. And if they wanted to specifically access the Cool Kids Online program or even the face-to-face version, once, Sydney lockdowns are no longer in place, where could they go?
Yeah, they can inquire about the current Cool Kids Online guidance trial through the Centre for Emotional Health at Macquarie University, or connect in with the Centre for Emotional Health Clinic. And actually, a lot of our clinicians are also making telehealth options available. Of course, also welcome to directly email us on coolkids.online@mq.edu.au, and that'll give more information about the project. And we do have a website, which is bit.ly/CKOG-research trial. So I can give you those references if that's helpful. But actually, we also, in the Centre for Emotional Health, we train professionals all the way across Australia to deliver the Cool Kids program face-to-face. So you can actually just pop into Google, find a Cool Kids accredited provider, and you'll come up with our website, and hopefully there will be people in your local area that can also deliver Cool Kids in a way that's been trained by us.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, I'll definitely include those links in the show notes later if you want to send them through to me, and then people can access them. And our Rotarians always enjoy hearing the outcomes from the research that we fund, as a lot of their donations and fundraising goes straight into this research. Would you be able to speak on how this mental health research grant may have helped you personally as a researcher, or perhaps talk about why it's important to continue funding mental health research?
Yeah, well, for me personally, this Australian Rotary Health funded project and this grant was actually the first grant I had led. And so it really kind of sparked the beginning of this real stream of research that I've been building in using technology to hopefully one day allow every child in Australia with anxiety, no matter how remote or isolated, to get help that works. So for me, it actually really critically shaped my career. And in terms of the funding, I guess it's so critical that we help improve the mental health and resilience of our youngest Australians. So for me, improving their mental health saves them a lifetime of suffering, and really also has this huge beneficial effect on families and communities more broadly. So I feel like if we can equip the next generation with skills to manage anxiety and prevent the development of later mental health problems, then we really are changing the course of their lives for the better. So, yeah, I can't think of a much better mission or purpose. And the work of Rotarians in fundraising and every dollar that's donated really does make a difference. And for me, it really has shaped my career and helped me pursue my passion. So I just can't thank Australian Rotary Health enough.
Yeah, well, thank you as well for all the important work that you're doing. We need researchers like you out there working on these important programs. So, yeah, it's really great. Was there anything else that you wanted to add that we haven't spoken about today before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Just, wishing everybody well, and, hoping that we can all, rally together and, continue all this great work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again, Lauren.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for all your work promoting what we do. Really appreciate it.
No worries. That was the 47th episode of our podcast called The Research Behind Lift the Lid. It's always so inspiring to hear what researchers in Australia are doing to make a difference to mental health, and how they are helping us on our mission to lift the lid on mental illness. If you can, please support important mental health research like Lauren's by donating on the Australian Rotary Health website. Thank you for listening. Please join us again next time.